surprise, there's a windage tray, which it obviously should have. Oh. All right, LS's, all of them, as far as I know, have windage trays, even LS1. Oil pump is down in here. It's right there. It bolts on through there and over here. We're not going to take the front cover off because I think I'm going to let the machine shop pull the harmonic balancer off because offhand I don't have a 3-leg puller. And I don't do enough of this to justify just buying one. And I think I have one at the shop, but if I find it, I'll do it myself. But that's not what's most important. We're going to get the main caps off really quick. We're going to get the rod caps off, and we're hopefully going to beat the pistons out, and we'll see what's in this motor. So this is what you look at when you pull it apart. That's oil pickup. Windage tray is what that's called. It's got, I think they're 12s? I'm trying to remember. But that comes off, and then we'll have the mains underneath. Now remember, we have cross bolts. There. Some more right there, covered and caked. Right there, and right there. And on the other side too. So we got a lot of bolts to take out. Okie dokie, guys, you're seeing this for the first time with me. Now, oil or LS, I don't know about higher end LSs like LS7s and LS9s. There is a threaded hole right here on the oil pump. However, they don't use it. There's only one bolt that holds in the oil pickup tube that goes in here, and that's the seal that everyone talks about. If you do find a way to kill an LS, it's probably because you lost oil pressure. And it's probably because the pickup tube moved a little bit in here from flexing, and it is pissing oil or air, so when the pump's pulling some air, and you don't have as efficient of pumping. This was in there tight. That seal looks good, and I mean, this engine ran before it got pulled. Now, they do have front and rear. See, it says rear. That goes to the rear. There we go. There she lives. Now let's look this over together. Let me set this windage tray down. Now, a good indication something's wrong is you end up with excessive slop. That's basically pretty normal. I'm not going to screw that hard. This engine ran, didn't knock, so it's not that big a deal. So your crank turns, and it turns the oil pump drive from within, and it pumps oil. So it's not like the old days where you had a distributor running a drive gear that was usually in the back of the motor. The crank literally spins and runs the oil pump. Consistent with newer Fords and with Hemis, they all kind of do the same thing because it's a good idea. There's your 24-tooth reluctor wheel back here. Your camshaft pickup should be right there, if I remember correctly. Yeah, right there. Whoops, sorry guys. Right there. So in order to get the mains off, these ones obviously go to the outside because these are little threaded parts that hold the windage tray down. They go to the outside. So it's a 4-bolt main with a cross bolt. So they're 6-bolt mains. That's why LSs are so robust. They have huge main webs. I mean, you can see how just friggin' massive these things are. And this is the first time I've seen inside a 5.3. Mine is a 6.0. So, it looks exactly the same. I don't see anything too squirrely. Yeah, we're going to start beating these pistons out and see how they look. I'm looking forward to seeing what we have for bearing wear, because this is a 200 and something thousand mile motor that got abused. This engine had plenty of external lubrication with both mud and oil. So they're amazing engines. I'm a Ford guy. LSs are amazing engines. They're the cream of the crop for a multi-port EFI engine. The new LTs, I don't really have too much experience with them. I'm not a huge jumping up and down fan for direct injection. It has its own issues. I'm not really that big a fan. So I would much rather have a multi-port system, or like the Coyote on the newer Gen 3s run a dual fuel setup where they have a multi-port injected manifold and then they have direct injection too to supplement. So if you do need to upgrade, you simply put bigger injectors on your multi-port setup, which is cheap and super easy to do, and then that part of the table or that part of the tune, you'd increase fueling. DI injectors are super expensive. To get big ones, it's not really a thing that much yet. They're very, very, very expensive. And they also coke up with oil on the intake port and around the intake valve because there's no fuel, which is a solvent, to clean the carbon and whatnot out of your intake port. because your fuel is going in directly into the cylinder. And they also have what's called LSPI, low speed pre-ignition. Mostly it's a problem in boosted cars. It's something that like a Ford Focus ST or Fiesta ST or Focus RS or most direct injected turbocharged like VWs, BMWs, the Europeans were and Audis were jumping on this way before the Americans. It has its own drawbacks. So to put that on a V8 that is like a truck motor, the beauty of an American performance car is you get a truck motor in a car. So it's reliable, it's fast, and emphasis on fast and reliable. Usually the two of them don't go together. So what we can do, I mean, we can take the rear cover off, but I think I'm going to have the machine shop do that. I'm going to have it decked and have it align honed for the cam and for the motor. I'm sorry, for the crank, and have the crank measured, the rods measured in case we end up reusing them. You don't really want to use these in a high RPM application or with a piss ton of boost, but you can run a fair amount of boost through them. I mean, obviously people, so just keep something in mind here. Just because a dyno car, just because a dyno only vehicle put down 1,000 wheel or 1,200 wheel or 1,400 wheel on a stock motor does not mean it's a realistic application for it. They ran it for 30 seconds and usually they blow up. So keep in mind that it isn't as simple as slapping a turbo on it. You need a fuel system. You need to have the bottom end reliable enough. You need to have the ring gaps wide enough so you don't break a ring and break a piston because your ring swelled up too much, the end's touched. Where's my fingers? Boop. And then they go boop. And then your cylinder bores get scored. Let's try and avoid that. So we're going to do some more thoughts about, and please do comment. Please seriously comment. I love answering your questions. I love hearing your comments. And I want you to tell me what to build, because it's the channel is always about the viewers. Tell me what you want to see. You want to see a pre-runner? You want to see a a four-wheel drive, high horsepower buggy to go rip trails on? You tell me. I'm gonna keep. I'm gonna get these four loose and get these main caps off. We'll start back here. We'll push the pistons out. See how this bank one, if you want, the first set of the two of them. Boy, I got something tickling my throat here. Sorry. We're gonna get to that now. All right, we're seeing this together, guys. Here's number two. Not bad. Definitely a little bit worn. But we're not reusing them, so it doesn't really matter. We'll check the crank here. If you're pulling, this is, excuse me, that would be number one. I apologize. Number one, we'll put it on the side you take off with the pistons over here. Put it over there. Then when we pull this one, we'll put it over here. So here we go. This one doesn't look bad. Oh yeah, that one doesn't look bad at all. Pretty. Oh, wait a minute. Dum-dum over here. The bearing was still sitting on here. If you caught that, hit the like button and comment. That's not bad either. Consistent with how I've seen other LS motors. They're just in amazing condition. So these both want to slide out. I'm going to get them out really quick and we'll talk. All right, ladies and germs, we're seeing this together. Bore looks good. I just cleaned the rings off a little bit. Piston is fine. I mean, ish. How's that for wear? Not too bad. Skirts on an LS, a stock LS, don't tend to have a whole lot of crazy wear. Rings look good, no broken rings. I'm sure you could clean this up and put it back together, and that's kind of what I want to find out from him too. So the other thing we could do is we could build a different motor to make it nasty, and we could put this back together with stock rods, stock pistons, stock rings if they're okay, and make it run and just show a full rebuild. We don't have to get too crazy. Grist pin looks good. Moves fine. Looks like OEM pistons. I don't see a plus 30 or a plus 10 or a plus 15 on them. They got the factory plus on them, or, you know, it's a design that's in the top of the piston. So I think we're in good shape. We'll keep going. We're in good shape. That one's fine too. Bore looks good. I don't see anything too squirrely. It's amazing how this came apart after all these years. Crank looks good. They're going to have to grind that. Whoopsie, sorry guys, I zoomed in the wrong thing. They're going to have to grind. Well, boy. Doesn't have much of a ridge. This might just need to have a polish. Wow. Amazing. 200,000 mile motor. Probably not taken care of. This is a half-ton extended cab Ford or extended cab short bed Chevy. So, wow, good deal. I don't want to hear any dribble drabble about, oh, just get a Milwaukee. How much more torque do you fellows need? These are mains. Mains, guys. This is 100 and something foot-pounds. Hold on. How much more torque do you need? All right, number 3 handles thrust, so let's pull the thrust main. Looks good. How pretty that is. Sorry, I'm trying to wipe it. My fingerprints are preventing a good job there. Don't drop your mains. Oops, like that. Don't drop your mains. Looks fine to me. I mean, thrust surface look. Oopsies. I'm just gonna get the main out of here. Give me a second. All right. We do have a bearing floating around there, but that's okay. They're not gonna get reused. Yep, we're in good shape. Crank looks good. I think just a polish will get that cleaned up. Spins nice. Now, it is probably a bit worn. I'd say the clearances are probably loose. I'd say the bores are a little bit loose. Pistons came out with no fight. So, yeah, I'd say it's going to need to have the crank polished. Bores, I'm sure, are going to have to go 30 over because I just think they're a little bit loose. But their mic won't lie. So, there you go, guys. There's a bottom end sort of disassembled. I mean, they're going to look the same across the board. If you wipe out a bottom end, you wipe it out everywhere. So, they're going to look exactly the same. I'll leave it in. I'll loosen them all up so that they don't have to work hard. And especially because I have a DeWalt doing my work. So, yeah, we'll be in good shape. Thank you all for watching. We'll get back to you with a... I'm going to post this as is. And we'll get back with updates to it. But it'll probably be a part 1 and part 2. So, if you guys enjoy the content, hit a like, comment. Subscribe, please. It really, really helps. It's free to you, and it helps me a lot. So, yeah, thank you all for watching. All right, I'm finally getting around to taking this motor apart. Many, many, many eons ago. Boy, it's probably been 5 years, 6 years, 7 years. I got this motor from a buddy. He was parting out a truck because he totaled it. You need 15. Oh, yeah. And this is kind of the first step. Whoopsies. Come on, get on there. Before you can get it onto the motor stand. Come on, you little bumpkin. I should probably make some room. Because impact drivers are huge. So, this motor has 231,000 miles. It's been sitting in my garage for many, many, many years. There's hardly even a ridge on here, and it spins over literally 360 degrees. Not a problem. It's a good motor. I got this when I was first getting interested in building things of my own, and I was in the middle of college. Uh-oh, don't do that. These have really heads on them. Get back here. So, we are now ready to lift it up, put it on the motor stand. What are we doing with this? I don't know. Like I said, it's 5.3. I think if I remember correctly, it's an 02. Could be an 01. It's a mechanical throttle body 5.3, whatever that is, whatever. It's an LM7. It had eight 869 heads. Does that sound right? They're over there. I took these off literally as soon as I got it. I need to pull the lifters out still. I got it basically to learn on. I bought a really crappy Camaro that I was hoping to make into a drag car with this. And the Camaro ended up, because I was young and stupid and didn't look at the control arm mounts, totally rotted out. So I abandoned that plan. Now I have time, and we're going to make this into something, whether it's going to be a pre-runner or whether it's going to be a like a real buggy, like a rock bouncer style buggy. It's going to be something. Now, what it has for a power adder, I don't know. What I'm thinking is porting the heads, putting it together naturally aspirated with a LS6 cam or a like a 210, 212 small cam, good boost cam. And the end goal might be for this to be turbocharged. So it'll be freshened up, bores cleaned up, probably aftermarket rods, knowing I want to put boost in, probably stock pistons, or we might do stock rods. And now the other thing I wanted to build with this was a 383 5.3. So that you punch it out to LS1 bores. These are currently obviously 5.3 4.8 truck bores. LS1 bores are 389 or 3-inch 890 thousandths. This is 644? Whatever. They're smaller bores. Then a 4.8 is basically the same block, same everything, same bores, has shorter stroke crank and different rods. So, yeah, this is just a basic 5.3. I got it from my buddy. I knew the truck ran. He was parting out the truck. I wanted the motor and the harness, didn't want the trans. So yeah, we're going to take this the rest of the way apart. We'll take the bottom end out. We'll see how it looks. LSs are really simple. If this is your first time seeing an LS, your lifter trays go in here. They're over here somewhere, but you always throw away lifter trays because they crack. And you don't want to have that. Just throw them away, get new ones. They're friggin' cheap. They bolt in with a single bolt right here. The lifters are down here, and they're probably a little bit... Oh, this one's sort of loose. I will... see if I have one in here. I'm going to have to monkey with these because they've been in here a little while. And I did pour oil in the bores, so the bores are honestly... I mean, they're really good. This is just goo. I always poured oil in the bores. I took the motor apart, and then I realized that, I'm middle of college. I took 16 credit hours a term. My terms were 11 weeks long, including my exam week. So 10-week terms, I had a full, 14 credit hour ordeal. Kettering is really, really accelerated. So I didn't have time, and now we're going to have time. So we'll take you guys along with this. I think we're going to do... I really want to see what a 5.3 does with ported heads, with a small cam, so it's super streetable and naturally aspirated. What we might do is build this to see some RPMs, and if we put this in either a pre-runner or a pre-runner especially, zinging 8,000 RPMs, that'd be pretty fun. So we will see. Why don't you guys comment when this video goes up what you want to see? Do you want to see a pre-runner? I have a 1500 Dodge clean 06 Dodge half-ton, clean, like Florida, not rust, not even Florida, Arizona clean, two-wheel drive. I'm not really doing anything with it. It could go in there with long travel suspension, front and rear, using either the stock Dodge axle, or we could put a Dana 60 in, full floater in the rear, or a Ford full floater, or a GM full floater, or a Dodge full floater, or we could build up the Dodge rear end, or just see what it holds up to. Put big gears in it, back this with an ADE, or a Power Glide, which I have across the room here. Could put a Glide behind it. It's a 64 Glide from a 64 Chevelle. Could put a Glide behind it if we're not going to have overdrive. We could make a real friggin' zinger. I would love to build a zinger. So we could do ported heads in a bigger, obviously a huge cam. It'd be like a 246 or something, big cam, to zing this little puppy. We could do stock 5.3. We could go 30 over on the bores. We could, aftermarket rods, stock crank, 30 over on the bores, forged pistons, like 12.5 to 1 compression, so you're making power up at 8. We could do a full screamer. We could do a big inch torque monster naturally aspirated, like a 383 or a 364. If you do LS1 bores, you can use the stock 3622 crank, which is the stock crank for all LSs besides a 4.8 and besides an LS7. We could do that. Yeah, possibilities are endless. So we're going to get it up on stand. I have to build the stand because my engine stand, as soon as I got my 6.0 done being built, my dad put his buddies, our family friends, he's got a Willys, he's a 62? Whatever, it's like this Willys wagon thing. And it's got this, called a Hurricane. I think it's the same motors they put in power wagons and stuff back in the day. But it's an inline 6, or is it 4? I haven't really looked it over that much. But it's sitting on my engine stand, and I saw that when I was last at the shop. So, I have a different engine stand to put this on. So we got to get the front accessory drive off. We got to get the oil pan off. We'll see what's going on the bottom end. This is a 27,000 mile motor, I think. I can ask him and follow up on it. I think it's somewhere around there. It ran great when it was in. It was tuned. It was a pretty hot tune. This thing would misfire if you put regular gas in. As you can see, there is no visible damage to any bores. I mean, obviously, rust. This will deck right off. That'll be no problem. This will deck right off when they deck the block. They'll deck, obviously, both sides. Probably a couple thousandths will clean this up. It looks a lot rougher than it really is. I mean, this is some really... Whoopsies. Come on, light. Maybe get out of the way here. I mean, it's fine. Trust me. This will be good. Do we make it a zinger? Do we make it a torque monster with 383 or a 364? Or do we make it a boosted engine? Could do a 5.3, could do a 364 or 383 boosted. Now, in a pre-runner, boost would be pretty cool. In a rock crawler, that sudden hit of torque might get a little antsy. But when I say I contemplated building a buggy, I'm thinking about building a full 2-chassis buggy on the channel with front and rear full floaters, really nice coilovers front and rear, like triangulated 4-link long arms, like a beast. 2-seater with enough room to put a cooler in the back so we can go wheeling. It would probably weigh 2,500 pounds, so if this thing made 500 horse, it would be scary. It'd be nasty, and probably would be some pretty decent gears, 488s with an Atlas. It'd be a nasty rig. I have a Divorce 205. We could do a doubled, we could do a 203 case in front of the 205 and do it the cheap way, or I'd honestly be really tempted to get a married Atlas 204 LADE, and then that way we can run a factory PCM as in a control. I have the whole harness and computer for this, so we can run, you'd have overdrive, it would shift normally, you'd have lockup, could run, if you weren't building a Screamer, you could run a stock 2500 HD converter, it's 2600 stall. I mean, not if you're making crazy stupid power, but if you just warm this up, you wouldn't want that if you were doing, obviously if you made a zinger, you'd want to have like a 3600 stall or something. Yeah, but a torque monster, you just run a stock 6.0 converter, probably in such a light buggy. It'd probably have 40s, or do we build a pre-runner and go quickly, in which case we could do a 5.3 with a piss ton of boost. We could build this like I was talking about with small cam in a lot of head flow, see how it runs, put a turbo on it. So why don't you guys decide pre-runner or rock buggy? I have a good bit of experience doing tube bending, tube welding. I mean, I passed all the SAE weld tests when I did Baja. So we can build some cool stuff. So why don't you guys comment and let me know what you think. We'll get this thing up in the stand. Well, here she is in all her glory. You know the phrase, if it fits, it chips. My phrase, if it works, it works. Now we know we're going to clean up these deck surfaces, so I'm not even remotely worried. I don't want to bend that bolt, that's for sure. One flub up, but we're going to redo the surfaces. You never ever want to lift like this if you're trying to put a head back down on top of it, okay? Don't do that. But we know we're going to deck it. Every engine takes different bolts. I just got a new set of LS ones because I know they're at my shop, but I don't know where they are, so I'm just going to use new ones. They're cheap. Every engine has different lengths that they need. So honestly, I find it just easier to buy a set. That way you're not worried about it. Engine or stand, that. Now I lift up, put the bolts in. Once you get one in and it kind of determines the plane, the second one is a lot easier. Always thread them in some, and don't do that. We need to put some spacers on this guy. This one's shallow. I haven't put an LS on engine stand in a while, so bear with me. There's shallow one. Yep, there's a water jacket there, that's why. All right, so we got that in there. Never bomb it in because you'll crack the block. Oops. And always pre-thread it some so you don't strip it. All right? So I'll just keep going around, then we'll be good to go. All right, now that we have it held up, we can just tighten up our 4 bolts that hold the little arms on, and you're good to go. It's amazing. You might kind of freak out a little bit about how few threads are really holding it together, and also that you don't have much mechanical advantage. But remember, we gotta take the bell, or excuse me, we have to take the oil pan off, and the oil pan has the bottom bolts for the transmission, so we can't go and put these arms on there. So you'd be amazed how stable this is. And so this side is spaced because the blocks are asymmetrical. This has plenty of room before the water jacket. That's why I could use the longer bolt here. Down on the passenger side, that's shorter. Oops. See how that's a shorter distance? I had to use a shorty there. So I use shorty bolts on 3 positions and a long one on 1. Now we go around and tighten up these just for double, triple sure. So you don't have the thing rocking back and forth when you're spinning it around, take the pistons out. And we'll be good to go to lower this down. It looks ghetto, but it works fine. She has just a few metal shavings in her. That's the metal going onto the magnet on the tip of that. So that's okay though. It's a used engine. See that? It happens. You're gonna shed bearing material. You're gonna shed ring material. You might shed wrist pin material. See that? No big deal.